What if I told you that the most powerful force on this planet isn't money, technology, or politics, but a girl who knows her worth? What if I told you that the most powerful force on this planet isn't money, technology, or politics, but a girl who knows her worth? And what if I told you that most girls never hear that? Not loud enough, not early enough, not from the people who should say it first. Today, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to remind you of what you already know deep down, but maybe no one's told you with enough truth. This isn't a speech filled with statistics or guilt. It's a mirror, a permission slip, a loud, unapologetic shout to every girl listening. You are not here to be small. So if you've ever been told to smile more, or dream less, or dress differently, I ask just one thing: stay with me, because what comes next might just change the way you see yourself forever. In a world where social media feeds are endless scrolls of carefully curated moments, it's easy, almost automatic, to equate our value with the number of likes, followers, or comments we receive. But the truth is, these digital affirmations are fleeting and shallow reflections of something far deeper and more complex: our true self-worth. It's a mistake to believe that who we are can be boiled down to a screen full of notifications or the latest trend we fit into. When we start measuring ourselves through these external validations, we hand over the power of how we feel about ourselves to people we don't even know, people who often only see a fragment of our story, filtered and edited for consumption. Moreover, the labels society attaches to us, whether it's about our appearance, our ambitions, or the roles we are expected to play, can feel like cages rather than definitions. Girls are told what is acceptable or attractive, what is ambitious or appropriate, and these labels come with invisible lines that we are expected not to cross. But our identities are not static boxes. We are fluid, multifaceted beings with dreams and fears, strengths and vulnerabilities that cannot be summarized by one word or stereotype. When we accept these labels as truths, we diminish our own complexity and deny ourselves the freedom to grow beyond what others expect. Learning to recognize that our worth is inherent, independent of external opinions, is a radical and necessary act of self-love. It means understanding that the unique qualities that make us who we are, our creativity, our kindness, our resilience, are not something to be traded for popularity or acceptance. Instead, these qualities are the foundation of a value system that no algorithm can quantify or diminish. It's about reclaiming the narrative of who we are from a culture obsessed with appearances and fitting in, and instead anchoring it in authenticity, purpose, and self-respect. From the earliest age, girls are often taught, sometimes in subtle tones, sometimes in sharp correction, that being quiet is being good, that being agreeable is being likable, and that being small in every possible way is somehow admirable. A girl who speaks up is called loud. A girl who takes charge is labeled bossy. A girl with big dreams and big emotions is told she's too much, too intense, too dramatic, too ambitious, too sensitive. These phrases are not just throwaway comments. They are whispered rules of a society that still feels more comfortable when girls take up less space. And over time, those words begin to build walls within us. We start to apologize before we speak, shrink our ideas in meetings or classrooms, smile politely when interrupted, and second-guess our right to feel, to want, to lead. This conditioning doesn't just silence voices, it erodes the confidence to use them in the first place. But being expressive, opinionated, driven, or passionate is not a character flaw. These qualities are often signs of leadership, of empathy, of vision, and yet, when shown by girls, they are repackaged as defects to be corrected rather than strengths to be celebrated. There's a persistent double standard where the same traits that are admired in boys and men, assertiveness, directness, decisiveness, are softened, criticized, or suppressed when found in girls. This creates a reality where too many girls are taught to dim their light just enough so that others feel more comfortable in the shade. But the world does not need less of your light. It needs the fullness of your voice, your energy, your ideas, and your courage to challenge the silence that keeps others small. The truth is, every time a girl is told she is too much, it's because someone else fears the power she carries when she is fully herself. And that fear is not yours to carry or absorb. It belongs to a culture still learning to embrace what it cannot control. Too often, girls are praised for being polite, for speaking gently, for knowing when to stay quiet. We're told that our voices should be soft enough not to offend, sweet enough to please, and measured enough to never sound angry, demanding, or assertive. Over time, this quiet conditioning teaches us that our voices are ornamental, something to smile with, something to soothe with, something to embellish conversations rather than shape them. But your voice is not just an accessory to your presence. It is an instrument of power, capable of cutting through injustice, igniting change, and telling truths that might otherwise go unheard. When you're discouraged from asking hard questions in class, or interrupted in conversations, or spoken over in meetings, the message is clear: your voice matters less. And yet, history has shown us again and again that the world begins to shift the moment someone dares to speak from a place of truth, especially when they've been told not to. Whether you're challenging a harmful comment, sharing your ideas, defending someone else, or simply saying, "I don't agree," your voice becomes an act of resistance, of self-definition, of courage. It's not about being loud for the sake of volume, but about using your voice with intention to express what you believe, what you need, and what you will no longer tolerate. Every time you silence yourself for the comfort of others, you reinforce the idea that your role is to decorate, not to direct the space you occupy. But your voice is not background music to someone else's story. It is the narrative thread of your own, and it deserves to be heard in its full, unfiltered truth. From the time we are young, many girls are taught that kindness means compliance, that being liked is more important than being safe, and that the word no should always come wrapped in an apology, a smile, or an explanation. We learn to soften our boundaries to avoid making others uncomfortable, to say maybe when we mean no, and to offer reasons when none are required. But the truth is, saying no is not rude, selfish, or dramatic. It is a full sentence. It is an act of self-respect. It is a boundary drawn with clarity and courage in a world that often tests our limits, sometimes even without noticing. Whether it's saying no to a social invitation that drains your energy, to a relationship that disrespects your values, to a teacher or peer who underestimates your potential, or to expectations that don't align with who you are. You are allowed to choose yourself. You are allowed to protect your time, your peace, and your body. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for doing so. Yet too often, girls feel guilt for creating space between themselves and others' demands, as if their worth lies in how much they can endure, how often they can please, or how quietly they can disappear into everyone else's needs. But no is not a door slammed shut. It's a statement of autonomy, a declaration that you are not here to be overextended, used, or molded. It reminds others, and sometimes, more importantly, yourself, that you are a whole person, not a prop, not a placeholder, not a perpetual yes. Saying no doesn't make you difficult. It makes you clear, grounded, and in control of your own narrative. Girls are often raised in a world that equates success with perfection. High grades, neat achievements, clean resumes, and the appearance of effortless progress. We're taught to aim for excellence, but not always taught how to fall or how to recover when we do. Failure is portrayed as something to avoid at all costs, as if it stains our worth or confirms our inadequacy. As a result, many girls grow up afraid to try unless they're certain they'll excel, afraid to speak up unless they're sure they're right, and afraid to lead unless there's a guarantee of applause. But failure is not the opposite of success. It is woven into the very process of becoming who we are meant to be. Behind every confident woman, every powerful leader, every bold innovator, there are moments of falling flat, of being told no, of feeling lost, of making mistakes that felt unbearable in the moment. Those failures didn't mark the end of their story, they shaped it, because failure is feedback, not defeat. It reveals not only what went wrong, but also what matters enough to keep going for. It builds resilience, humility, and perspective, qualities far more valuable than the illusion of flawlessness. When we redefine failure not as evidence that we're not good enough, but as proof that we're daring to grow, everything changes. Suddenly, the missed opportunity becomes a lesson, the rejection becomes redirection, and the stumble becomes part of the strength. The world does not need more girls afraid to fail. It needs girls who understand that failure is part of building something real, something honest, something that lasts beyond the applause or the grade or the spotlight. For too long, girls have been conditioned to see one another as competition, as rivals for attention, for approval, for limited spaces at the table. The media amplifies this by constantly comparing women, pitting them against each other, and reinforcing the idea that there is only room for one of us to shine at a time. But that narrative is not only false, it is dangerous. It keeps us divided, distracted, and disconnected from one of the most powerful forces we have: sisterhood. Real sisterhood is not just about friendship or shared interests. It is about standing in solidarity, lifting each other up, and knowing that another girl's success does not take away from your own. In fact, her victory expands the possibilities for you. When girls truly support each other, when we celebrate wins without jealousy, speak out against injustice even when it doesn't affect us directly, and create space for more voices to be heard, we don't just grow stronger individually, we become unstoppable collectively. Sisterhood means recognizing that we are not each other's threat, but each other's strength. It means being the kind of woman who straightens another's crown without needing credit for it, who offers empathy instead of judgment, who refuses to perpetuate the culture of comparison that so often isolates us. In sisterhood, there is healing, there is power, and there is the revolutionary idea that we rise higher when we rise together. Whether it's offering a safe space to speak truth, challenging each other to grow, or just reminding one another that we're not alone, these acts of solidarity are not small. They are radical, especially in a world that has always tried to divide and silence us through fear, scarcity, and shame. Every girl should know this. You were not born to fit into a mold. You were born to break barriers, raise questions, and walk paths your mother and her mother may have never been allowed to. Your courage does not need permission. Your ambition is not arrogance. Your story is still being written, and you hold the pen. So stand tall, speak loudly, love fiercely, lead boldly, and never, ever forget, you already are everything the world needs you to be. Now go show them